Welcome to part 2 of our Adobe Audition TPOD podcast activity. At this point, we have Are You Ready? And for a mind-blowing experience out of this world is pretty much what we've got going on here on the host line of this particular podcast. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here so we can see a little bit more. And now we're going to move on to the next instruction. We are going to create a copy of the world clip. This is the world clip. In order to make a copy while you're on the Move tool, like in most Adobe programs to make a copy, you can hold down the Alt key. If I hold down the Alt key, notice my arrow changes to a black and a white overlapping arrow, and I can just pull down and it makes a copy on another line, which I pulled it to the interview line. So on this line, we are going to make a change to make this sound kind of robotic. So we don't want to do it to the original one just in case we want to use it. So we're going to do it to this one. Now to add effects, which are kind of the fun part of Adobe Audition, first off, let me scoot this down so we can see the mind-blowing experience part. I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit because I can't see it all. There we go. So here it is, the world clip. You can make changes using what's called the effects rack. And you can either make those changes to the clip itself, which means like click on it, or to the track. The track is the entire line. Now notice, because this was using a template when we set it up, that the interview line already has a speech volume leveler added to it. It's already here sitting in the effects rack. If I double click, you can see it's got some changes already made to it. So there's already some changes happening on this line. Just like if we click on the host line, we'll see the same thing. That speech volume leveler is in there. On the sound effects line, we have dynamics processing. So there's a lot of different things happening. So on this particular line, instead of making the change to the interview track, we're just going to make it to the world clip. So I'm going to click on the clip and click clip effects. Or if you were to highlight an area, you'd have the same option. In this case, we are going to add a modulation effect. So I'm going to hit this little button here, and under modulation, we're going to choose the flanger, and we're going to set it to robotic. Now there's different ones in here, and you are more than welcome to play around and find one that you like. You can always delete them or just double click on it to try a different one. So I'm going to click this button here, which applies this to this clip, and then I'm going to play it. Now I'm going to put this on solo, so I'm going to press the S and then hit play. Okay, and so now it's got this robotic sound happening. And that's kind of a fun kind of thing going on there. But you could add different ones as well. So there's, that one, if I didn't like that specific one, I could double click. It would bring it back up. And then you can see I've got Dan's guitar, Hell's chorus, Jimmy. There's different ones that you could do in here. Too many pills. So have fun kind of looking for one that you like. And anyway, in this case, I've decided to go with kind of crazy sounding one. I'm going to take this off of solo now. But that gives us the opportunity there. So I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning and press the space bar. I wish I had speakers because it's probably not going to come through very well, but so I left the original audio on the first line in addition to the robotic audio because it makes it a little more clear. It's easier to hear. So that's why we're going to go ahead and have both of those clips in there. All right, next we're going to go to the ready clip. So again, I'm going to back up to the front here. Here's my ready clip. I'm going to apply a reverb effect to this. So again, finding our effects rack to the clip, not to the track. We don't want to do it to the host track. We want to do it only to the ready clip. So we clicked on the clip and choose clip effects. This time we're going to add one for a reverb effect. That's usually like echoes and things. Convolution reverb is where we're going to go. And again, there are a bunch of different options. Cold house, a bitter hallway, the judge's chamber, a smoky bar. It gives you just a different amount of echo. The bitter hallway is the one I've asked you to use, though certainly you can listen to others. I'm going to put that on there and then give it a listen and see what it sounds like. Now, this one kind of ends abruptly because even though I left a little bit of a flat line at the end here, it just sort of chops off at the end. So a lot of times if that happens when you add an effect, it's a good idea to add a fade out effect. So these little squares that are up at the top of your clips are there for fading out. You just pull them. So if I pull in here, if I pull inwards, creates a yellow line, and that yellow line is going to fade. Now I can pull up to determine how quickly it fades. That would fade out, like slower and then really abruptly, and then you could do this either way. So you have to decide which one you like. But then when I do that, if I play it, it gradually fade out at the end, instead of just chopping off at the end. Okay, that's the way to add in a fade out. Then we're going to include one final line that includes our name and podcast. So I'm going to go to the end of this clip and then the end of the next clip. And that puts us in this next position so we're ready to record. And I'm just going to say Tanya's podcast party. And this time we're going to record it straight to this audio line. Now notice that the record button is grayed out. Even though I set my audio preferences in my hardware, it doesn't know that I want to use this line for recording. And there's a little R button that you push to arm for recording, but I can't even push that. Well, that's because we have to set the inputs. That's done by pushing these arrows up here. So if I push the inputs and outputs, this arrow here is where I would set that. So when I put this here, right now I have no input. So I'm going to set a stereo input to my microphone. And that's what you would do. Set it to whatever your preference is. So if you're using a USB headset with a USB microphone, you would choose that one. Notice now I have an R. So I'm going to arm this for recording, which tells it to start listening to me. And now I can see this move up and down. So it's listening to me. When I want it to quit listening to me, I just disarm it for recording. Now that doesn't mean recording. It means I can record to this line, and this is where it's going to go. So I love that feature that it shows this and we can see where it's going, and I can also kind of see what volume to talk at to begin with so I don't get into that red zone. All right, so now I'm ready to go, and I'm going to record Tanya's podcast party. I'm going to press the red button to actually begin the recording, and then again to stop it, and then again I can trim it as well. But it's a different keyboard shortcut to trim it when you're in the multi-track editor. So again, I will pause at the beginning because it tends to always have a little bit of a jump at the beginning, and I'll let it go beyond the end. Here I go. Tanya's podcast party. All right. So there we go. I've recorded it. Back up here and give it a listen. All right. Now, if I zoom out to get rid of the part at the beginning and end I don't need, I'm going to use this cursor, the time selection tool. Select the part that I need. And then instead of Control T, which is what we use in the waveform editor, it's Alt T in this editor. So there we go. Alt T. Now we've trimmed it. And then I'm going to disarm this for recording. I don't need to record me anymore. And then there we go. Okay. So it's not right up against this one. I can move it now since I've done that. You can also right click in the space and choose to ripple delete the gap. That means just get rid of the gap. Delete the gap and scoot everything down. So that's a nice little trick there as well. Now we're going to create a stutter effect. So to do that, we're going to split the clip with the razor tool right before podcast. So it's like Tanya's, and we're going to be like, Tanya's podcast party or whatever. So I'm going to have to stop it after Tanya, which is why so I got to figure out like right before probably in this flat line here is where I'm going to want to trim this. I'm just going right in the middle. I'm going to take my razor blade, and notice if you click and hold your razor, you have the option to razor all the clips or just this selected one. All is handy if you have like multiple things going at the end and you've got to like, 30 seconds of airtime for the radio, and my thing is 31 seconds and I got to trim all of them down a second. I could use all clips. In this case, I just want to do this clip. Okay, now I'm going to click right on my red line, And when I do, notice my host is divided into two pieces. Now turn that razor off so you don't accidentally start cutting other pieces as well. Now I'm going to scoot this right. So I'm going to take my move tool, scoot this over for a minute. All right. So now this is just going to, there we go. Tanya's is there. And now I'm going to zoom up close. So we do need to zoom up rather closely here on this. And then we'll scoot over so we can see. All right. I'm a little too close, I guess, here. All right. This little line here, by the way, if you pull, you can change your zoom from up here as well on the outside edges of this little bar. Okay. So let's see where I'm at here. I lost my place. Okay. So that's podcast. So there's pod. That's cast. So here's pod. All right, so I've got to decide what part I want here for this part. So you want kind of the part of podcast. We're going to highlight it with this tool. And I've got a lot of empty space here, so I'm actually going to delete a little bit of this because I don't need it first. All right, now let's find podcast. All right, let's save that. I'll take all of this, and I'm going to press Control-C, which is your standard copy command, right, in everything. And then in front of it here in the gap, I'm just going to Control-V to paste it. Whoops, hold on. I'm clicked on top of stuff, so let me undo. Oops, let me redo. All right, so here we are, Control-C, and then we'll get here to a certain area and Control-V. So I've pasted it in here. Okay. All right, so I got it in there, and oops, I'm going to hit my little arrow here to scoot back, and then I'm going to paste it in again. I don't know why I have inputs and outputs going on over here. Okay, so I've got that control copied. I've already copied it once, so I'm just going to copy it again, but you can also Alt-drag to make copies, remember? So I'm going to hold down Alt and just drag and make a copy here next to it, and we'll just see what it sounds like. Okay, so pop, pop. So there it goes, and I'm going to do it one more time. And I could crossfade these if I wanted to. It's fine. I'm going to delete this gap here and just see what it sounds like. But we're looking for a Puppa podcast party kind of thing. So that's a little slower than I would like. I'm going to leave it for now. Part of that is because of that flat line that's in front of everything. I don't really say it until there. So you could, go in here and delete the fronts of these if you wanted to, or I could delete all of that and try again and scoot these in, however you wanted to go on that. But the cool thing is with the ripple delete effect, you can still scoot all these over relatively easy on that gap. I'll do it one time here and one time here. Wish they had a keyboard shortcut for that. There you go. That's better. That's kind of more what I'm looking at. So I'm going to now go ahead and delete the big gap here in the middle of all of this and take a listen to what we've got at this point. I'll just go all the way to the beginning. All right. There we go. So we're going to do some really cool things to this, but this is going to be our stopping point for session 2. So hopefully you've got this all worked up to this point, and then we will resume shortly.